Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching the Footy Social Club today. Mark Gahey, João Pedro, Jack Grealish this morning. Just some of the names that Gaz and myself are going to be talking about. And we're focusing on Newcastle. One club city, amazing fans, great manager, first trophy in 70 odd years now. Straight in. This is what I wanted. Gaz, what did I say when I was waiting? I hope the Newcastle ones are in and waiting, and they have delivered. Thank you very much for joining us. Smash the like button. Welcome to the show. Thursday already, and it's been a busy week on the Footy Social Club. Definitely want to know what people think about the potential of Jack Grealish coming in. Newcastle, Gaz, welcome to the show, mate. See how you go with a non-Spurs hat on talking about the Geordies today. Newcastle, Gaz, have done an early deal. 18-year-old Antonio Cordero in from Malaga. Now, he's expected to be loaned out, but there was interesting signature from across Europe and obviously in Spain. 7 goals, 9 assists in 60 senior appearances for Malaga. One for the future, outgoing sporting director Paul Mitchell talks about. Newcastle getting a little bit of business done. And if anyone knows more about him, I'd love, for you to stick it down in the chat.
Yeah. I mean, sounds good. I mean, plays in that right-hand side, cover for Murphy, for sure. Young lad, Malaga, obviously.
Malaga to Newcastle's a difference.
Malaga to Newcastle, a bit different, yeah. Only about 12 degrees. But no, I think, could be great. You never know. I liked it when these young kids come over. They generally like to be bled in, and it's perfect because he's not being signed as like someone that's going to play he probably only play half a dozen games.
Yeah, I'd expect him to go out on loan first up, and then you might see him more towards next season.
Maybe.
Free transfer deal as well. Spanish under 19. Potential. If anyone's
do you think it's their backup just in case they don't get Mbeumo?
Well, they're definitely not getting Mbeumo. So look, let's have a quick down the chat here. Stephen Field, obviously, good morning, lads. Slices of SIB, welcome back, lads online. Yes, sir. MFS. We're here up the tune. Good night, guys. Well, I hope you're not going to bed yet on me. Look, I think any deal is a good deal, especially in the transfer window. But where's Ray? Yeah, Ray's not here yet. Matt, waiting for Ray. I'm sure he won't be far away. Right, let's get on with some transfer talk. We've got roughly 12 players and a few others that I want to talk about. Now, if a player comes up over the next hour is not on the list, fire it into the chat. Even if there is one on the list, fire it into the chat. I'll confirm whether we've got them. If we haven't, we'll talk about it as well. Get your questions in, get your comments in. Most importantly, help this channel grow. Hey, Lee McFarlane, nice to see you. Smash the like button for me. Do me a favor as well. Hit the subscribe button. We need to get the numbers growing. We need to tell YouTube that we're doing something good. We believe we are. Fans keep telling us that we are. So smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. Gaz and I are going to do our best to talk to you about all things Newcastle for the next hour. Gaz, let's get straight into the first one. Nick Pope. We talked about him yesterday briefly. I've done some more research today. For me being over in Australia, obviously all the time in the world before it becomes morning for you guys. Eddie Howe's been really positive about Nick Pope. Doesn't actually want to see him go. Leeds courted with his signature at 8 million. Meslier there is not the keeper that Leeds need. Nick Pope obviously has been in and around the England squad. He's 33 years old, played the bulk of the games for Newcastle last season, but they're now being linked with James Trafford. I'll bring his stats up on screen right here. 30 million to do a deal for the Englishman who kept 29 clean sheets. This is a straight shootout for number one, is it not?
Yeah. That's impressive. 29 clean sheets. I mean, I love a bet on a Saturday. I always used to follow Burnley, and they've been clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet. And, obviously this is the guy that's obviously pulling this, between the nets, pulling up the sticks. I mean, he's talked about highly. Newcastle, City, apparently, get rid of Alisson and having James Trafford. big call that.
Edison or
Sorry,
Allison, my man?
Edison, apologies, Edison. And then obviously Chelsea was just yet another goalkeeper. Well, they got 5 keepers already. You know, this would be another one. This would be 6. It's crazy. But yeah, he's a great keeper. And like you said, future England #1. But I think I've always been a Pope fan. But like I said, I think I said yesterday about Pope. A lot of Newcastle fans were telling me that Pope's not as good with his feet. Well, this guy is. So this guy's quite complete as well. So yeah, it could get done, and it could be a coup at 30 million is a bargain for a goalkeeper of this sort of legs at that age.
From what I understand, I was reading the Newcastle Chronicle the yesterday and this morning. It's really good, actually, to be honest. Really good paper. And Trafford's very calm about his future. Former Manchester City youth team player, obviously gone off and got heaps of experience playing for Burnley. Scott Parker has come out, Gaz, and basically said, look, he's one for England for the future. He's the next England #1. Dean Henderson might have something to say about that. 22 years old. But what I also understand is with James Trafford is that Newcastle actually agreed terms with him nearly a year ago. So the fee's not going to be an issue. We know Newcastle have got no PSR. They've got a box clever. They might be the richest club in the world, but they've got a box clever with how they do it. 30 million is definitely that. It's boxing clever. And he is a very, very good keeper. And at 22, you're talking about a keeper that could be in the net for Newcastle for the next 13 years.
Yeah. You always want them, don't you? You know, it's shades of the Lloris when we had him dead young, and you have that big, huge longevity. It's great having a keeper like that. And yeah, Newcastle are crying out for a keeper like that. And it'd be a good buy. Whoever gets him is going to be a good one. I'm surprised only them 3 linked with him.
But if United obviously could look, obviously looking for a goalkeeper as well.
Of course,
and Newcastle fans won't thank me for that, given what's going on with Mbeumo. We'll be talking about Mbeumo later. Hal Cross, welcome to the Footy Social Club. Bring back Tim Krul. Talks of Tim Krul coming back, Gaz. Newcastle qualifying for the Champions League now have to meet the criteria for homegrown talent. So you've got the likes of Freddie Woodman, Tim Krul available on a free to hit their quota. We'll talk as well about Joe Willock. We'll talk about Longstaff as well. Lots to get through on today's show. Still want to see that like button go up, guys. We'll give you the energy, give us the likes back. So if we're going to talk about Trafford potentially coming in, there's a very, very high chance that that's going to happen. Does Nick Pope then leave, do you think? He's surely not going to be content to sit on a bench. Nick Pope knows that when he came in from Burnley himself for 10 million, he was going to be the #1. I'm sure Eddie Howe would be having the same conversations with James Trafford in relation to, look, you're coming in to be #1. Pope would have an opportunity to go to Leeds, automatically improve them. Newcastle fans, is Nick Pope worthy of keeping, or would you like to see James Trafford? There's plenty of you watching here. Get in the comments and let me know. Hal Cross, Gillespie, Ruddy, and that Greek guy need to be off our books. Love that. And Mbeumo, who exactly? Stephen Field. I agree. I'm a big fan of Mbeumo, though, I must say. 8 million, though. I mean, you're not losing that much. He came in for 10. I just don't see him staying if Trafford comes in.
No, probably not. He ain't gonna play second fiddle, is he? To him, that's no way. And you know, why wouldn't you go to Leeds? If you did go to Leeds, yeah, huge monster club. And obviously it's a challenge, isn't it, to keep him up? You know, he's probably going to Leeds going, you know what, I could probably keep them up. We've got to think like that as a goalkeeper anyway. Yeah, I think he could probably go. He could go.
Yep. Okay. Very good. Right. Next one. This one caught me a little bit by surprise, but this versatility to what Axel Disasi can do. Loaned out to Aston Villa. Still got him as Villa here, still on loan technically at the club till the end of June or whatever it is. Chelsea boy, the rumour has it he's not going back to Chelsea. A fee, Chelsea paid about 38 million for him season before last. How many times have Chelsea bought a player that then literally 12 months later rolls back out the door? Villa missed out on Champions League football. Axel Disasi didn't do too bad there himself. 27 years old, a fee in the region of 40 million. One thing I like about Disasi is his ability to play both centre half and right back. And obviously Newcastle have Livramento at right back / left back. They've got Lewis Hall, who everyone loves as well. But this one could be a good one as well. And I'd love people's opinion on him.
Yeah, you can, obviously a centre back that can always play, that can move to the right back or
It's
left back in the full
powerful.
back position. It's good that, but he is well, ultimately he is a centre back, and he's a marked improvement to probably what they've got in for sort of squad size, because they are a little bit threadbare in sort of centre half positions. And yeah, I think he looks decent, doesn't he? I mean, he hasn't really lit up things at Chelsea, but 27 years of age, French international. You know what? Probably be a good signing.
Yeah,
40 million is a lot of money, though. 40 mil sounds a lot, though.
you talk about that, and then we talk about players that other clubs have been linked with 40-50 million. It's the going rate for a
Yeah.
decent player. He's got Premier League experience. He's been good at Villa not having Champions League. I think if they had it, they'd be converting this loan into a transfer. Is there not a question as well, given that Newcastle have got Champions League football? And we talked about this earlier on in the season, about 6 weeks ago. We talked about the likes of Villa and Newcastle. Newcastle have gone and done it, but Villa actually have a deeper, better squad. And I think if Newcastle are to compete and go and get Champions League football again next season, as well as have a good run in Europe, they need more and more bulk, more and more players and a little bit more quality as well from the bench.
Yeah. They haven't got like I said, they've got a very good 1 to 10, 1 to 11, but they haven't really got that sort of structure in behind, which Villa have. I mean, I always put Villa and Newcastle very similar sort of clubs. I've always thought of that, for the last sort of 5-6 years, but now Villa sort of have taken the sort of mantle a little bit more because, when they play in like a cup game or something, you look at their bench, there's people that can come on or there's people they can rest. Newcastle don't quite have that. And I think this is why this year Newcastle needs to just bolster a little bit more. Because if they could bolster that little bit more, I think it'd make a huge difference to their successes in Europe and in the Cups.
Gaz, we called for him earlier. He has arrived. Ray is in the chat. Yeah, Ray's in the chat. Welcome along, Ray. Newcastle should sign Guéhi and Mbeumo. It always comes with them. Mbeumo, João Pedro, Jonathan Davis, Ramos, Jack Grealish. They're all in there, Ray. There's your shout out. Look, Disasi at the back would be good. They've obviously got good players at the back. Trippier, Livramento, Hall, Dan Burn, Shaw, Botman, who he's had so many injuries. Sven Botman, if they could get Sven Botman fit, Newcastle start to look like they actually got a good back line. Newcastle fans, would you sell Kieran Trippier if the right offer came in? I'm thinking obviously the Saudis. I'm thinking a few other Premier League clubs maybe, but he's getting on slightly, and I just wonder, would you cash in on the likes of a Kieran Trippier? That one would interest me. This, though, for me, would be a solid 7 out of 10 signing. I don't think 40 million's big biscuits. I also think Chelsea would probably do a deal that would be maybe in the region of 25 to 30 plus add-ons up to 40, meaning Newcastle have got money in the bank. As I said, player with Champions League and Premier League experience, that is a snip at 40 million, French international as well.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. 40 mil just sounds a little bit steep to me, mate. But in installments.
Mate, says the man that says Matthias Tell is a bargain at 50 million with 3 assists. You're dreaming, mate.
Well, you're talking a 27-year-old central defender that hasn't really done too much compared to an up-and-coming 22-year-old forward. It's a bit different.
Here we go, Mr. Staffy man. Yes, we would cash in on trips. There you go. First one in.
Yeah.
Tell me if Mr. Staffy man's wrong. Welcome to the Footy Social Club. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks so very much for getting in the chat as well. Let's move on. Fast, furious. Marc Guéhi. Now, this is one of all the ones that have been linked that I think Newcastle have a genuine opportunity of doing the deal for. Marc Guéhi, captain of Crystal Palace, turned down the opportunity to leave Palace last season. Rightly so in the end. Went on to win the FA Cup. For Palace, England international, Spurs, I don't think will do the deal. That's probably should be calling. I think Chelsea have got other players that they're interested in. This one is for me, where Newcastle could spend big and it automatically improves their team.
Yeah. See, comparing him to that, the Axel Diassi, Mark Gay is a much, much better player. Younger, probably worth spending that little bit more on him too. Got a lot of legs. He is someone you could definitely hang your hat on for sure. And like I said, he is England's, arguably centre back for the future, and now and for the future. So he'd be a huge signing for Newcastle if they get him.
Newcastle fans, what do you think this would mean for Dan Burn? Because Burn is obviously a local hero, and I'm sure in the watch along right now, the viewers that are watching, there's people from Newcastle, that live in the area. He's an absolute local hero. But Mark Gahey is a left-footed left centre back, and for me, he is going to replace Mark Gahey. Stephen, love that you're getting in the chat. 55 million. Is that what you're willing to pay for Mark Gahey? Or is that what you're being told? Because I'm being told it's 68 million. That includes add-ons and whatever else. But 55 would be an absolute bargain if that was.
Yeah, it'd be more than that, Christian. Like I said, I think they turned down 70 before. Or I think they turned it down. I think they'd love to get it back again. But I think you went far off around that sort of high 60s. I don't 55. I think I just don't see it. It seems selling them for that.
Do you think that? Yeah, look, there's plenty in here. I love this. This is brilliant. Mr. Staffy, man, what have we got going on here? He's already scored 2 goals for the Toon this year. Burn is getting burnt out a lot. We need a replacement. David Barry need a replacement, just squad depth. JB91, welcome to the Footy Social Club. He's got 1 more year left on his contract. Stephen Field, we ain't spending 68 million. You've got bags or drums of oil. You've got so much money to spend. 68 million. No, she said, hey, welcome back to Lee McFarlane. Keith Murphy, just so he can wave off the other Ashley era lot. Mike Ashley now is a distant memory for the Toon, and so it should be. Sports Direct and all the other stuff. That's almost a swear word, I would say, up there. I want to see Newcastle being able to have a go. They've obviously they are the richest club in the world, and it would be, it would be amazing. Paid 63 million for Isak, and the market's moved since then. And look what Isak's worth now, 150 plus. Would Newcastle fans, don't destroy me here, but would Newcastle fans cash in on Isak if it was big money? And I'm talking the 150 plus. Would you cash in? Do you think, you could replace him? He is the best number 9 in Europe, but what would it mean for your squad overall? Or is he just irreplaceable? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, 150 million. If it was me, I'd be selling him all day long. Because
why though, Gaz? Why?
Because
strikers are gold dust, and Newcastle are Champions League, mate, and as aspirations to win more trophies. Why would you?
Because there's other strikers out there you can buy that are not as just like Isak, but not a million miles. Okay, what's Isak out of 10? Let's call him a 9 out of 10. I don't give anyone a 10, so let's call Isak a 9 out of 10. I think there's plenty of 8.5s around there that you can get for around about 40, 50 million. I think 150 million would be just overinflated, and they would never turn that down because they could, could use that money to really sort of bolster and really sort of kick on, not just kick on, cement themselves into a Champions League spot.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, look, Mr. Staffman's agreeing 60 million is too much for him. Hi, it's me, Lewis Hall, Dan Burn, Jacob Murphy, Lewis Miley, Anthony Gordon, Kieran Trippier, Nick Pope, Valentino Livramento. Our new badge is simply 3 lions. Give me your opinions on the new badge as well, Newcastle fans. What do you make of that? So many clubs over the last 10 years, I'm going to go back as far as say, have changed their badge. Do you think, does it make a difference to you? What does the badge mean? I've seen it with my own club, Arsenal, have changed it over the years. This year we had just the cannon on our shirts. I absolutely loved that. The crest has changed, I think, 3 times in the last maybe 30 years. So tell me what you think about that. It's an iconic badge. It's as iconic, as Alan Shearer, as Newcastle Brown Ale, as Faustino Aspria's little dink against Liverpool back in the day. There's many, many moments, and Kevin Keegan's rant as well. So let me know what you think of the badge as well. Mr. Staffy Man said we couldn't replace him like for like. Talking about Isak there, I agree. Isak is going to be almost impossible to replace like for like. We've got some options here that have been raised as well. I'll come to those later on. Agreed as well. You don't want to bolster your competition. MFS, Newcastle and Villa are the only clubs who can challenge the Big Six. MFS, I'm going to challenge you. I don't think there's a Big Six anymore. I think that's gone. I really do. Spurs and United finishing lower half of the table, the end of last season. I'm not saying that they're in, that they're not going to be back up fighting for it next season, but I think that the 6 is now an 8, and I'm including Newcastle and Villa in that. So the 6 just doesn't exist anymore. Gaz, what's your opinion on that?
It depends in what context you call a big six. What you call a big 6 is in financial power, squad support, big
Newcastle
teams,
Newcastle got
revenue.
the financial power.
Well, no, revenue. It's all about revenue at the end of the day. And Newcastle don't have the revenue that Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea have, or the 3 northwest clubs in Liverpool, City, and United. So as a big 6, they are still the big powerhouses, big 6. But regarding football terms, there isn't a gulf between 8th probably and 3rd. There isn't a big difference between them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. The chat's going mad. Do us a favor, guys. Smash the likes. There's plenty of you in there at the moment watching the show. The likes need to go up. It helps keep YouTube saying that we are enjoying today's content. If you can do it, I'd really, really, really appreciate it. So do smash the like button. Let's get some more of these read out as well. Keep them coming as well. Keep commenting. We'll get them read out as well. Definitely don't want to bolster your competition. Stephen Field, Alexander Isak's not going anywhere, but he might in the future. We shall see. Look, I think he's got more in him. People not wanting to see the badge changed. I'm happy that we aren't going for a circle badge and keeping it the traditional way. Lee McFarlane, I want to keep Isak for the next 30 or 40 years, but 150 million plus would make a whopping PSR difference. And that's worth
100%.
noting, because that whole amount, even if it's over 5 years, is considered money on day one. So you're getting 150 million in your PSR balance, even if it's not happening. That's so important. Thank you very much, guys, for the likes. I can see it's just ticked up on screen. Keep them coming. Keep these comments coming as well. The badge should be a magpie shitting on the Temple of Plight.
I was going to read that one out. I'd see that one there. I look good, that one.
Only Stephen could have done that. I mean, I'd imagine Stephen's probably the only man that's he's in here very regularly now. I really appreciate it. He's probably got the Stadium of Plight outside his back window. He just doesn't want to tell anyone. When a Man United signing Mbeumo and Cunha after finishing 15th, it clearly it's Man United can just bounce back whilst PSR hurts us and Villa. It's a great point. MFS, Manchester United, who have pled poverty in recent weeks, certainly under Jim Radcliffe. It's almost like they've had the can out for, put in some donations. Now they're going to go big and try and blow themselves out the water, and get themselves back up there. We are well run, unlike the old tragic. Gahey won't leave. Welcome to Michael's. Grealish isn't an Eddie player, and there's no space for him. I'm going to talk about Jack Grealish very, very shortly. Really appreciate the likes. They keep going up. Welcome to the Footy Social Club. If you haven't watched us before, we're not just a Newcastle channel, we're a Premier League channel. Plenty of content going out daily. Live watch-alongs, UK time every day, 11 a.m. Make sure you join us for that. We've got transfer rumours throughout the summer. So yeah, do come get involved. That's what we want. It's your show, not just ours. We want your comments. We want your feedback. So make sure you get involved. Let's go on to the next one. Mark Gahey, we think could be a good option for Newcastle. Would certainly improve their back line. This one, James McAtee. Now, on the watch-alongs that we do, or the 3 p.m. watch-alongs that we do, Gaz, myself, and Aussie Matt, James McAtee has come up a few times. Was out on loan last season, or season before last, I should say, to Sheffield United. 27 appearances in all competitions for Guardiola this season. And I said, I think Guardiola is putting McAtee in the window to sell. And Gaz, sitting next to me here on this show, laughed at me and said, no chance. Guardiola thinks he's a player. Well, I now see Gaz having to say sorry for that one, because
Yeah,
he has
I might
been
have to
left
give you that
out
one.
of the Club World Cup squad. He's not
Yeah.
going. And reports up in Newcastle are saying that a deal in the region of £20 million would see you get James McAtee.
Bargain.
He's potential. He's skillful. He's an upgrade on the likes of Willock. He's good on the turn. He can play wide right. If you're missing out on Mbeumo, this boy's not the worst option in the world, and a snip. Funny enough, Manchester United have inquired about his services, and so have Leverkusen, who have been monitoring him. Obviously, Eric Ten Hag, manager of Leverkusen now.
Yeah, I mean, it frustrates me, people that, you know, when you see about these players, this guy could be, I mean, not the next Cole Palmer, but City just don't seem to care. They just seem to let Palmer go for what, 40 million, and this guy, what, 20 million? It just seems very cheap. I don't know.
Only about
I know
a
it's
year left on his
100%.
deal. Only about a year left on his deal, Gaz.
That's their problem. They've only got a year left on him. They should be looking after him a bit more. You know what? And saying, you know what? Let's put 2 or 3 on some of these young lads, because, you know, arguably when they hit 22, 23 and they look good, and you think, hang on a minute, they've got to be worth more than 20 million quid. You know, if you come through the books at City, and you've been, you know, and a lot of people, you've got to be worth more than 20 million quid. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think he's very, very good, exceptional future England player, no doubt. Newcastle fans, is James McAtee the type of player that you would like to see at your club? There, as I said, there's talks of Willock potentially going. There's talks of Longstaff going. You've got Joel Linton in there. You've got Tonali. You've got Bruno Guimaraes, fantastic player. McAtee can play in the middle, but he can play wide right as well. I think he's a terrific young English player. And I think at 20 million, this is an absolute steal if Newcastle could do it. Again, why not? Why not at 20 odd million? Seven goals last season in 27 appearances. Back down in the chat shows MF, what we got here. What have we got here? Let's go. It's moving so fast on the chat at the moment.
You've seen the Stephen one there. Willock ideal for Spurs. Get a bid in. Not a chance.
Ray's back with his comments. Thank you, Ray. MFS Gittins is such an Eddie Howe player. We talked about Gittins yesterday. I think he's more Chelsea than he is Newcastle. But Gittins is, again, you've got to. I think Murphy is so unlucky that we're talking about to cover a position for a player who's done so well. I just don't think Murphy will do it again. And all of it, and that's so harsh. It's so harsh because he did so well last season, assists and goals. But I think you need strength on the right. You're so good on the left with Gordon. You've got Barnes as a great backup there. Murphy becomes a great backup on the right if you can go and get a Gittins, if you can do a McAtee. If somehow you could do an Mbeumo, it's not going to happen. But if you could do an Mbeumo, feeding goals to that man, Isak, and I want to talk strikers as well, because you're going to need a backup for him. I've got some options that are being talked about as well. Gittins is class. Gittins has got future as well. Stephen, I recently moved to Durham from Newcastle, but I can see St. James's Park from where I live. You can probably hear it as well.
Yeah.
Anyone that wants to give me or let me get a ticket to St. James's, it's very much on my wish list of places I'd love to go and watch football.
Have you not been?
Never been to St. James's. One of the Premier League stadiums I've never been to. I've been to a lot. I'd love to go to St. James's. Anyone that can hit me up with a ticket, I'm happy to pay for it to go and watch a game. Would love to go and watch Newcastle play for sure.
Like gold dust at the minute, though, mate.
Yeah, of course. But I'd love to go and watch Newcastle play. Unbelievable place. One Club City, amazing fans. Great, mate. I've had very many good piss ups in Jesmond and whatever else. Yeah, mate. Only there do women go out with full makeup on at like 1 p.m. in the afternoon in short skirts and high heels. It's the only place I've ever seen it in the world is Jesmond. So yeah, good place. So what else we got here? Luffy Satria, I hope I got that right. Sign Malik Tillman. That's what they're calling for. Stephen Field Woollock, ideal for Spurs. Get a bid in. Ex-Gooner can go there. MFS, this shows how messed up PSR is. We were scouting Desire Doué, but we couldn't sign him because of PSR. Doué was offered to Arsenal last year. Offered to Arsenal. I have a very good source that tells me he was offered to Arsenal, and Arsenal said no. And look what's happened to him. I think, as I said, McAtee here, it's not harsh on Murphy. He's overachieved, according to Mr. Staffy Man. That's interesting as well. Mr. Overachieved, has he, or has he upped his performances? Has he given it more in training? You know, he's a professional footballer at the end of the day. Miggy Almiron had a season like Murphy, and we saw what happened to him. Miggy Almiron, I mean, yeah. Funny enough, I was shocked when he was sold, but I actually completely understand why he was sold, Almiron. So yeah, Lee McFarman, we should buy Minter and Anderson back for a start. Agreed. I was why did Newcastle sell Minter? Why? No idea why. Minter, would have been perfect to have kept for the right. Anderson, obviously at Forest as well. Yeah. Absolutely. Perfect examples is MFS talking about PSR. You can fall out of St. James's and get pissed.
You can. It must be about like 20. It must be like 15 pubs run by Newcastle. I mean, there is tons, absolutely loads, and you just, it's up on that hill there, and yeah. I mean, if I don't know if you've ever been, but obviously you said you've never been. But when they put the away fans, they put them right up in the top in the clouds.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, when you then come out of there, you do need a beer, to be honest. Just up over the road. I think it's on the east stand. There's like a pub on the corner there. I forgot what it's called. You nip in there, but yeah, there's tons, mate.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, Ray's in here, wants to see Newcastle sign McAtee. Ray, completely agree. I think he's a perfect Eddie. What I like about Eddie Howe is Eddie Howe has got coaching ability for those likes of those young players, and the experienced ones as well. I remember watching it was the interview with Anthony Gordon when they were doing the behind the scenes of Newcastle, and you see how Eddie Howe is so relaxed. He's almost on their level. And I'm sure he's a taskmaster as well and a disciplinarian when he needs to be. Yeah. But he comes across as like the big brother as well, if that makes sense. And
he's young, isn't he? He's a young lad. He's not old as he's.
Yeah.
Was he 40? What, 40 odd? Is he not even that? He's young, isn't he? Yeah. And obviously, when he was in Bournemouth, it's very similar at Bournemouth. He had a real good affiliation with the guys in Bournemouth there. And Bournemouth was sad to see him go. And yeah, when they were saying, when you mentioned before about Eddie Howe, Newcastle wanting somebody else, a bit more names and that. I never really see it. I always thought that this guy is, builds into a situation. And I think he's there with the clockwork for me. I think he's going to be there for a long, long time.
So right, he's got a good assistant in Tyndall as well, who plays. They have like the good cop, bad cop role, and I love watching those two. And I think ultimately Howe will end up as England manager one day, and I think that will be very, very good. But I want to see him at Newcastle. As someone growing up, I loved the old Newcastle, the Filial Bears, the Warren Bartons and Shearer and Ferdinand and Asprilla, Beardsley, to name but a few, Rob Lee. They were a lot of people's second favourite side back in the 90s just because of the way they played attractive football. And I think Eddie Howe is bringing that back to this club season on season. And I'm excited to see him in the Champions League as well. I think they'll do well in the Champions League. Do I think they're going to get past the quarters? Depends on what they could do in the summer. But it's going to be important for Newcastle to be able to find a balance between maintaining it in the Premier League and re-delivering Champions League football again at the end this time next season, and then building on progress in the Champions League, Gaz.
Yeah, and to do that, they need to bolster. They need to bolster. That's like I said, just like Villa did. Villa managed to do it. Well, I know they just missed out on Champions League this season by some real controversy and real, but very similar sort of sides. And I mean, Villa's run they had in the Champions League this year. I mean, I spoke to a lot of Villa fans. They're delighted of what they did. And I think Newcastle will be very similar, because when Newcastle was last in Champions League, to sort of them high levels, getting to sort of quarterfinals. That's a bit of a while back ago, but I bet the place was absolutely hopping. And great for the city.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep going. What have we got here? Spurs, you can have Willock. He's amazing and injury free. We had to do it.
He played for Arsenal, right?
Yeah, exactly. So did Danny Rose. So did Harry Kane. We had it.
Shut up! So did Danny Rose, that Harry Kane. Shut up. I love how he says that one.
Carrying on, it's all about Newcastle. We had to do this with Minter, Gordon, so not to affect PSR. The clubs with the healthiest PSR in the Premier League: Chelsea, God knows how, Brighton, City, Tottenham, United, Arsenal. On we go. It's crazy. We had to sell Minter and Anderson for PSR. 100%. 100%. Lee McFarlane, bad PSR planning from the club, forced the sales. Love it, guys. You're telling me what's going on. I absolutely appreciate what you're telling me. I'm so happy that we got Paul Mitchell out. Who do you want as your next director of football as well? I don't think that's been confirmed yet. Who's the next director of football? Are you happy as well, Newcastle fans, with the way that the Saudi ownership is taking the club forward? Would you like to see anything different? Redevelopment of the ground next, I think, is going to be important. You could have that as 100,000 seater stadium, I believe, and you still sell it week in, week out. It's a huge club. It's so untapped, this club. It really.
What are you talking about the ground, Christian? Sorry to interrupt you. What are you talking about the ground there? I did a little research. I watched a little bit of a pod there about the ground, and they're looking to develop one of the sides, and because there's a road there as well, which makes it very difficult. I think it's the Gallagher end. They're on about having a fan zone there at the back of the Gallagher end.
Yeah.
So they'll have, because at the moment they kind of got two sides done.
Yeah.
They'll end up having three sides done, but then being open. But that row there, I think it's the East Stand. I think they might have called it. There's a load of like Victorian houses or listed houses, buildings behind there, and the problem is the light. Apparently, the light that shine onto them houses, and so they are a bit restricted. However, there is something they're interested in doing, which I thought was really interesting, was a bit like Atletico, where they have like a road where they build above the road, and there'd be like a tunnel underneath the ground, underneath the stand. That would be awesome. Imagine when a goal scores and a load of cars was using a car going underneath that sort of on the road. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm shaking," wouldn't it? So I think that would be real good. But it was really interesting when I was, doing a little bit of research for this pod.
Mr. Staffy Man, Eddie is king. I can see us focus MFS. I can see us focusing on the Prem and finishing 15th. I'm going to question that. Why? Why should you? Why? I don't think so. I think you've got to be looking higher than that. 24th in the Champions League and sneak into the playoffs. I mean, this is where surely Newcastle at a board level have spoke about the lessons learned, where they had Champions League football last time and didn't manage to then get back into it the next season. They've got to find the balance. And I'd say, even if they get to round 16 in the Champions League, but then finish in the Champions League spaces again, that for me is as much progress as winning the League Cup and getting the Champions League this year. It's the money that it's worth. It's the fact that you can invest again. The PSR play that comes into it again. It's so important that Newcastle this year finds some consistency and balance over, for me, winning a League Cup or an FA Cup.
Yeah. For sure. I agree.
I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do. Stephen Field, we need a bigger squad. No arguments there, but quality as well. That I agree with. There's no point just buying players to just bulk a squad out that don't add quality, because there is legitimate quality. That midfield, that we're talking about there with Bruno and Tonali. Imagine one more in there of real quality. A McAtee. Could it be a Grealish or someone like that? Don't need a director of football, just Eddie. Wish Mandy was still here. She got signings over the line. I'm sure she did. I hate it when people say we splashed the cash like Man City. We have been slowly building. Most of our players came 2 seasons ago. Completely right. You had such a almost non-existent transfer market the last few windows. Newcastle have been hamstrung in their ability to splash the cash. And look, fans that say and relate it to Man City and whatever else, I don't support City or whatever. It's only jealousy. All clubs wanna be, like you're playing career mode in FIFA. All
Of course.
clubs want to be like that. I want my club to be like, yeah, we're going to spend 200 million on a player. Don't care. Man City fans don't care. Gaz, you'd
Yeah.
love it if Spurs were doing the same. Who cares if it delivers silverware?
Mm,
Who cares? And
exactly.
you, Newcastle fans shouldn't care either. Lee McFarlane, this should be our biggest transfer window since takeover, but still, but we might still not do any major business until July the 1st for the new PSR rule of the new PSR year. That's a great point as well. I think, you might have moved on in Buemo if you felt you could have got it done. I don't think you'll do much in the next 5 days before the window shuts, but I think right now you'll certainly be talking to players that you want to get in. Lees's Park, Stephen's saying Gaz is still the new favourite place for the new
Yeah.
stadium.
I got one for you about there. Would Newcastle fans be, about moving? Because obviously they're very restricted with that ground of what they can do. And like I said, they're on about doing the one side. But are they better off completely moving? Because the thing is, being a one club city like they are, you could build an absolute 125,000 seater and it would fill it. You could build something like a new camp. You really could. But would you be happy with that, or is it because of the affiliation with the city being so close to the city? Would that then diminish the sort of support you'd get? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Nobody likes moving grounds. If you could shift it, you can't really shift it. It's too tight. So it would be the case of be interesting to see. Put your names in the comments and let us know. Would you be interested in moving grounds, or are you just happy with
It's
sort of
another historic stadium I don't want to see go. Look what Liverpool did with Anfield.
Yeah, but they're getting stuck though. Liverpool have a little bit more room because they can build all the houses, a little bit more room around Anfield. Newcastle, you are stuck. You are like stuck right in the city. There is no room around Newcastle.
Yeah.
Like these Victorian houses or these houses were built before it's so tight. There's a tiny road down there. You can't move them.
This show's going longer than an hour. Guys, we're on 17 likes. Help me get to 30 before the end of the show. We're only on player 5 of about 12. We'll come straight back to the players in a minute. That's what we're here for, to talk about. I'll just go back down to a few more comments. Getting back to back in the Champions League football is more important than finishing 6th in the UEFA Champions League and then not getting Europe. Lee Thompson, welcome to the Footy Social Clubs up, folks. Have to say, frustrated watching Man U making all these moves for their first team, and we're slow off the blocks again. Early days in the window, though. Look, transfer markets are not easy unless you're Liverpool. Thank you very much, guys. See, the likes have just gone up again. Keep hitting that like button. I really do appreciate it. This show is for you. It's not for me. It's for you. It's for you to air your opinions. That's what we want, and you're doing it as well. Keep getting in the comments. Transfer windows are hard. They are so difficult. There's so many different things that go on behind the scenes that us as fans, we just don't know about. The player rights, agents' fees, mum and dad want a new house as well, and all the stuff that goes into it. It's not as simple.
Sunbed, Sunbed.
Yeah, Newcastle will have targets. They will have players they're going to do. And maybe it means a few have got to move out first. Who knows? Man United would love to be in your position. They would. Welcome to Guitar News. Funny thing is that we didn't have the best of seasons playing wise, yet we won a cup and got into the Champions League. Pure mental. Let's get in a few new ones. Great show, lads. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Welcome to the Footy Social Club. I'll come back to there's so many comments. There's so many comments. I'll come back to them in just a minute. I'll know where I'm up to now. Really, really appreciate it. We're going from McAtee to Mohamed Kudus. West Ham's Mohamed Kudus. 85 million. Way too much for Kudus. I think he's a good player. I've talked about him in his Ajax days. I got ripped by the boys talking about Kudus, and then he turned up and they were like, oh, Kudus is a player. I watch my football all around the world. I know the players. He's been a shining light in a shit, let me say, shit West Ham team. I think West Ham would do business. I don't think it would be in the a fee in the region of 85. That's top for Mohamed Kudus. 35 appearances, 9 goal contributions last year. Age on his side. Bags of African magic in him, though, Gaz.
Yeah, that's it. You know, you are buying an African player at 85 is too much, especially with your African nations, and you're going to lose them every couple of years and stuff, you know, for a period of time. I do like that Kudus, though. And yes, you were right. You did say he was going to be very good when he first come. I was like, who's this Kudus guy? Oh, no, he's good. He's good, guys. He told me, and he was good. But he hasn't lit the world alight, you know, at West Ham. And I think, you know, West Ham probably could do a cash in because they need to go again, don't they? Potter needs to go again with some players because, you know, West Ham are going to struggle if they don't sort of strengthen. But I think this is going to be more of a 50, 60 million pound player. Plays on the left, not on the right. So he would be sort of for Gordon, it'd be sort of that sort of competition for Gordon on the left.
Can't spend that sort of money though. Like, and West Ham down in the chat here seeing. I'll come back. I want to read all the chat out. That's the difference here. I can't see him doing business at 40, 45 million. I saw that coming, mate. God, there's so much going in the chat. 40, 45 million. West Ham are not going to do that. That was from Jeff Barlow. Jeff, welcome to the Footy Social Club. No more than 40 million for Kudus. For me, he blows hot and cold, so it needs to gain consistency. Some part of that statement I agree to, and some parts of it I don't. He blows hot and cold in a very poor West Ham team that's gone through an identity crisis in a sense of a change in manager from Potter to Lopetegui, or Lopetegui to Potter, I should say. I think he's been a shining light for West Ham in a very, very poor side overall. MFS says 85 million. Embarrassing. You can skip this player. One more minute, we'll move on. Not panicking. Stephen Field at the lack of transfers. It'll come good. Jeff Barlow, again, this window just shows the need for Newcastle to up their commercial revenue. There is such a gulf between the so-called big six in inverted commas and Newcastle that we can't compete on wages, etc., until we do. That's a fantastic point as well. I mean, all they need to do is go and find some more Saudi brothers and sisters with wonderful companies who are willing to sponsor the socks, the underside of the boots, the bus that takes the players to the stadium. Hey, create a girls team and sell it to your sister company for 500 billion. There's so many ways. Clubs need to be looking at what Chelsea are doing as well. Chelsea are building hotels or built hotels, you know, sold them on. Newcastle need to be looking at that as a commercial option as well. Teams and clubs have got to punch clever, like Chelsea, like Manchester City. They clearly find ways to get around it. We need to do it. If Kudus goes, will go away to the African Cup, then it's a no-go. He's definitely going to do that. 9 goal contributions is underwhelming. Vincent N says, welcome along. I know he's a good footballer. I like what I've seen when watching him, but for the cost, it's not worth it. Murphy got 19 goal contributions. I know we've talked about how unlucky Murphy could be. Arguably, guys, is Murphy going to be the unlucky player for Newcastle next season? That's what I want to know. Does Kudus have an attitude problem? Possibly. I think he's just a good footballer. But let's move on from Kudus. João Pedro, what about this one, Newcastle fans? Is this a player? I think he's a top player. But last week of the season, dropped after his 4-game suspension. He's got a red card in him as well, fighting with his own players. But good mates with Bruno G as well. What a link up he could be for Newcastle. Imagine him sitting in behind Isak. Fire, Gaz. Fire.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be a bit higher up there, I'd say. But yeah, for sure, he could play on the right too. There's no reason why you couldn't play on the right. Imagine sort of like Murphy. Sorry, imagine sort of, you know, when Murphy's not, you know, doing it or something, or bringing him on. Pedro, you know, bringing him on. I mean, straight away, it would just give so much to the team, wouldn't it? There, you know, 17 contributions there this season at Brighton, and he was a bit of a bit part player. He hasn't played lots for Brighton. He's been obviously, but quality player. 17 million though, a lot of dough in it.
It's interesting you say it, mate. 30 appearances in all comps last year, 10 goals, 7 assists, penalty taker as well. They're good stats. They're good stats for a 23-year-old. Brighton are a good side as well.
They are.
You're going to play Premier League you're going to pay Premier League tax on these players. Brighton are no mugs. If you want their top talent, you pay for it. History says that, whether it's a manager or a player. I don't think you're far. These are potentially with add-ons, but I don't think you're going to be far off. He's going to be in the 60s. He's going to be in the
I don't know.
60s.
I think if you see Mateta's around the sort of 35 and things like that, he's not
Different
dumping Mateta.
contract though, Gaz. Far less
Maybe.
left on his contract, and that also, changes how it is.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But it just seems a little bit expensive, 70 for me. I mean, he hasn't been. He's got a lot. He's had a lot of penalties. I know he takes a lot of penalties. So, I mean, how many penalties has he? Are them 10 goals?
Possibly.
Is it-
Possibly, but when we're talking about improving what Newcastle has, I feel he improves what Newcastle have.
Yeah, he improved. Yeah, of course, for sure. Yeah. He adds to it. I would say more so adds to it. He's a number 9. I saw for Isak.
No, he's squad number for Brighton's a number 9, right? But he plays off of Welbeck currently in the 10, right? What this also does, Gaz, is give Eddie Howe flexibility to change up how maybe that midfield looks in game. So you could sit Bruno and Tonali in as a 2, and then you can sit João Pedro in front off of Isak, Gordon wide left. At the moment, it's Murphy on the right. We know he's got the 19 goal contributions. It's very, very dangerous, especially if you're at home.
Only if you're at home. Maybe that formation if you're at home, but if not, he'll have to. But I think he could play wide too. I'm sure he could be a wider player. So I'd see him more as a wider player for Newcastle as a front 3. So like a Mane, but on the other side, where Salah would play.
Yeah. See, I think there's plenty of Pedro comments here. Vincent N.
Pedro, hey.
Seen fans be divided on Pedro. Disciplinary record is sus. The Brighton manager seems to want to keep him regardless. The fee is too much for me. I'm a fan of Pedro's skillful, technical, and versatility. Ray, he wants Pedro. Ray wants everyone though, but Ray wants Pedro. What have we got here? Jeff Bardlow. Pedro plays in a position we don't use, the second striker. I'm not sure Eddie is going to change to accommodate him. Would Pedro want to come in as an understudy to Isak? Again, Jeff, obviously, read your comment now. Just what I was talking about a moment ago. Flexibility, different styles of play, options for how Newcastle could play in certain games as well. Keep smashing those likes, guys. Really appreciate it. Stephen there, Pedro's demanding to be a number 1 striker, not happening with Isak. He might fit in as a wide player. Look, big ass bloke. Yeah, no doubt. Murphy's been brilliant for 1 season though. So was Almiron. Nearly said Amorim. But look shit the next. Murphy is not the long-term solution. Look at Isak record before he came as a record signing. Thank you for watching. Hi, it's me, says, so cheat to compete. I'm not saying cheat to compete, guys. What I'm saying is you've got to make this work to your own benefit. You've got to find ways to bend the rules or bend the stick, as my dad used to say. Find ways in business to keep it above board so you don't come up with it, but so you can compete with Chelsea and Manchester City, because they're doing it and they're getting away with it. So what, are we considering that they're cheating? No, they're being smart about the way that they're doing business. Alan Farder, welcome to the Footy Social Club. Man United want to spend 70 million on them. Buemo, let them crack on. We don't need a greedy mercenary looking for 250k a week. No player is worth that. Well, look, 250k a week in the Premier League is becoming cheaper and cheaper as the seasons go on. The report of 250k a week is potentially wide of the mark. I think that came from a pub in Newcastle, sources for that one. And look, at the end of the day, if Mbuemo thinks that he can get it or his agent does, who are we to begrudge him? If someone said to you, hey, you can have 50 grand a week or 250 grand a week, tell me someone in the chat that's not going to take 250 grand a week. I beg to differ on that one. Moving on, Super Jack. We've been waiting for it. 29 years old, lost his way. Now, Grealish for me. Do Newcastle have a position for him? Maybe not. Maybe not. At 30 to 35 million, I think he's a snip.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think this is what I like about Jack Grealish. and there's a lot of press that Jack gets. Some of it good, some of it bad. He does a lot behind the scenes that you don't know about with kids and stuff like that. We know
Massive.
his sister's got a disability, and he's fantastic with that. I was listening to Talk Sport the other day. They were talking about a kid that Jack keeps in constant contact with, and whatever else. Does a lot of that. But I know on a Saturday that's not what you want to hear. It's about performances, and he's lost his way at Manchester City. But Newcastle as a city and as a club, and with Eddie Howe as a manager, could just get the very best again out of Jack Grealish, I believe. An arm
Yeah.
round the shoulder, I think, is what Jack needs. And I think it could take 6 months to get him back to the Jack Grealish that football fans love. I'm thinking, I'm thinking with Grealish, Newcastle fans, tell me if I'm wrong. You're going to see him out on a Saturday night somewhere. I know he's had a kid now and whatever else, but you're possibly still going to see him out with the locals having a beer and whatever else. But could Eddie Howe be the man to get Jack Grealish back onto the form that we saw, in his pomp at City, and the Jack Grealish that we saw that ripped it up for Aston Villa? Because 32 appearances in all comps, 3 goals and 5 assists is not good enough. A fee in the region of 30 odd million is a bargain, based on the potential of what Jack Grealish offers. But if he was to come, Gaz, where does he fit in? Because he can't come as a squad player. He needs to play.
He ain't going to play, is he? He's not going to get play in front of Gordon, that's for sure. And that's the position he plays off the left. And he hasn't got that he's got that dribbling ability, which is really good, but he hasn't got that electric speed of Gordon. So I just don't see how it fits for me for Newcastle. Yeah, price wise, fine, sounds good. Goal contributions, that doesn't look great on the screen because 32, sort of 8 goal contributions. But how many of those have he come off the bench? He hasn't started a lot, has he? So a lot of those would be bench appearances. So for me, I don't see this one happening. I really don't.
Purely because he's not going to start. Is that why? Because the money fits.
Yeah, the money's fine. It just doesn't fit. I just don't see him fitting into Newcastle of where he would play. He's a 10, really. He can play off the left or a 10. And Newcastle don't really play that 10.
Could you put Gordon on the right? What about Gordon on the right, Grealish on the left?
Gordon's left-footed, isn't he? Gordon's best
Saka's left-footed, plays on the right, mate.
Deadly. I know, but I don't think so. I think Gordon's better off the left, and Murphy's decent on the right. I just don't see Jack Grealish as an out-and-out winger, unfortunately. I just don't see it working at Newcastle. It just doesn't look that sort of player.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, just before I go on and talk about Grealish, I'll read some more of the chat out. Keep smashing them in there. They're coming up right now. Thursday next week, we will be doing a keep, bench, sell on Newcastle United, 11 a.m. next Thursday. Make sure you join us for that one as well. We'll get that up on YouTube so you guys can hit the notification bell. We've also got a live phone-in coming on Wednesdays starting next week. We talk about all Premier League clubs. Think BBC Sport, but better. Your opinion really does count, not like Chris Sutton, who just shuts everybody down. Come join us for that one as well. 11 a.m. again. Your opinion, as I said, counts. Come voice your opinion on transfers. Whatever you want to talk about, your club matters to us. Big ass bloke. Grealish is not for me. Who would he replace? No, we want young, hungry players on their way up. Is there not an argument, though, big ass bloke, that you need a little bit more experience? Players that have been there and done it, getting you back into the Champions League. Thank you very much, guys. We've hit the 30 likes. Can we get to 40? Keep it going. Thank you very much. Is there not? Yeah, not the rule there that maybe a few more experienced players help you get to the promised land. That's the other question of major trophies. Jack Grealish has been there and done it. What could he add to the squad from an experience point of view? 300 grand a week. Stephen's saying he'd have to take a pay cut. I'm sure Jack Grealish would take a pay cut. I'm sure Man City would contribute towards his wages if he was getting out of the club. Matt, Grealish just needs freedom to play how he plays. City's too rigid for him. That's a great point as well. Guardiola is extremely rigid. With how he plays. Eddie Howe is more expansive in that sense. I agree with that. Going back to Pedro is decent, but Brighton wants 60 to 70 million, zero chance you'll pay that. It's interesting why Newcastle fans don't feel you're going to pay big pounds for players. I'm really interested. It's come up now a few times. Why? You've got money to spend. You know, you've got some players you could cash in on, and I'm not talking about the Isaacs of this world, but you've got money that you can get back into the club as well. Why aren't you going to spend? You've definitely got the ability to go and spend
They're
big.
not used to spending that money, though, Christian. I don't think they're not used to spending.
Spent
si-
63
you know,
million on Isaac. Spent
once.
big money on Gordon, did they not? Was Gordon not
No,
50?
no, 40 million going rate stuff. 40, 45, I think he was actually. They're not used to spending over 45, 50 million for players. They've only done it once in Isak. So, I mean, arguably, you know, you've got a few players there in Guimaraes now who probably is over that player, but they're building players that can turn into these, you know, high echelons, pushing the 100 mil sort of players. They're just trying to box clever, really, like most teams are with PSR rules. They're just trying to box clever.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm going to start a little poll. Give me a second. I'm
Oh,
just.
I was going to ask you about a poll, Christian. If you're going to do a poll,
We've had one
of
out there.
which player does people in the chat? Because there's quite a few people in the chat.
Yeah, go on.
Think that they should sign. If they had they could sign one player, who would they sign?
Yeah, okay. We'll come to that one in a
And
second.
give them a few options, maybe on the ones that we actually discussed.
Yeah, 1 second. I'll get this one out first, and I'll prep that one for the next one.
Yeah.
Out goes the next one. There we go. All about Jack Grealish, Stephen Field. Eddie Howe's signings tend to be out the blue, like Isaac, Tonali, Bruno. Yeah, that's very true. I just think, yeah, there's players out there. You agree, Vincent? Newcastle don't overpay. You're willing to walk away. There's clearly a game plan there as well. Hi, it's me. We're still getting shot of long-term players. You're still going through. You're still going through changes. You know, still from the Sports Direct days, the swear word of Mike Ashley. You know, I honestly think that Newcastle are just heading in the right direction. And one or two players, look how passionate you guys are in the chat talking about Newcastle. Imagine one or two big names coming in, what it would do to the vibe around the city, you know, match day experience. There's so much Champions League nights. There's so much that could happen. So much that could happen. All right, so Jack Grealish, yes or no? He's getting pumped out. No, he's leading the way. 62s, 57% for no Jack Grealish. I'm kind of surprised at that, but you guys are speaking, and I love it. Help me hit 40 likes on this show today. Let's go on. Now, this one's not going to happen. Bryan Mbeumo, right? And I just want to touch on this in a slightly different light. And that's why I've left him in. 60 million. United are doing the deal. It's going to happen. Spurs, you can forget about as well. That was reliant on Thomas Frank.
Yeah.
Is there an argument here? And we've talked about a lot of players already. Is there an argument here that Newcastle, like so many clubs, the Arsenals, the Tottenhams as well, the Chelseas, we're all shopping for almost the same players? And
yeah.
Newcastle now must start to have, you know, option A, B, C, and D. Because if you go back 10 days ago, I actually thought Newcastle were in pole position for Bryan Mbeumo. Gaz, we talked about it on one of the early transfer pods. We were like, imagine him up top. There's 29 goal contributions last season with Isaac and Gordon. Newcastle almost guaranteed Champions League football. They're going to miss out on him. Newcastle fans, why do you think you're missing out? Do you think it's purely the money, or do you still think Manchester United are a draw card? That's what I want to know. Let me know why.
It's the wages, isn't it, Christian? I mean, the wages, I think, that's a huge shock. They're not used to paying. I think Bruno Guimaraes is their highest wage structure. It's about 170 million, 180 million. Sorry, 180 grand a week. 250 grand a week Bryan Mbeumo wants. That's way out of Newcastle's budget to box at that sort of prices. They're not going to pay that sort of money, and United will. And that's the difference, really. Regarding size-wise, I'd much rather go to Newcastle than United. You know, right now as a club of where they are, of going to win things. You know, Man United is just purely on name at the minute. Newcastle are in a far, far better situation.
Fair enough. Here we go. Look, I've got a few more here. Grealish is a good player. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather see us spend big in positions that we know we need. Here we go. Vincent and Gaz, who do you think? He says, lads, who do you think the Toons should sign? I think the first and foremost, if you're going to spend big, I think you've got to go at the back and Gahey. I think if you do Gahey, you're building with Livramento at right back, with Lewis Hall at left back, with Gahey, and if you did Trafford as well, that back line, and you've got Sven Botman fit. Well, fuck me, that's a good back line.
Yeah. It just solidifies everything. I mean, you hit the nail on there. I was going to say Gahey. You got in there before me, as usual. But no, the centre back, the right back situation. I know they're saying they need cover for Murphy and that as well. And I think that's everyone wants them attacking players. And Murphy's done great last season. He'll do well this season too, but I think they're going to need a little bit more cover in them positions. So I think that's why a lot of people, the Mbeumo thing just sounds a bit more glossy than that, and that he could definitely play on that side, which he does. So yeah, really. But for me, I think you're right. You've got to get that back four solid, and I think Gahey does that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Newcastle guys, are you disappointed that you haven't signed Bryan Mbeumo? Did you feel like this was going to be one that was going to happen? I felt as if Eddie Howe had conversations with him, and because of the way it was coming out in the media, that this one was all but signed, sealed, and delivered. And I wonder whether Howe's potentially been blindsided by Manchester United, or whether or not this is just big paper talk. Let me know. Let me know. Back down into the chat, Michael S. If we sold Gordon for 80 million, I'd be happy to loan Grealish. Let me know your thoughts on that one, guys. Getting rid of Gordon to Liverpool, they would have to do Diaz. I don't see that happening. Diaz, they're looking like they're going to want to keep at Liverpool. Barcelona rumoured with him, the Saudis as well, but just don't see that happening. Lee McFarland, if Liverpool want Gordon, then we could take Grealish on loan. Another one. Hit those likes, guys. Vincent, really appreciated. We're aiming for 40 likes now, guys. The likes are going up. I really, really appreciate you guys getting in the chat. These shows are so much easier when this is what happens. And I can tell you now, this is our best ever live show. The amount of content you guys are creating for us by being in the chat, smashing the likes, it is appreciated. Thank you so much for what you're doing. The show must go on. Gaz, we're an hour and 8 in and we're not through all the players. They are starting to run out. And there's a couple of curveballs coming, but we'll talk about those in a minute. Ray's still going on about Bryan Mbeumo. It's not happening, Ray. Pick me a new player. Vincent N, can't lie, I'm gutted about Mbeumo. I thought we were in pole position for months and ready to strike while the iron is hot. Maybe a bit of both wages and Manchester United's reputation. Eddie wants who Eddie wants. JB91, I think it's the money, but also don't think we wanted to pay the fee. 60 million for a guy that contributes 20 goals, 9 assists in 42 appearances. At 25 years old, I think he's still got levels to go. 60 million is a bargain. It's a bargain. Would Newcastle fans consider Visser? He can play wide, linked definitely with a move away from Brentford. He's another one that I think would be very, very good at Newcastle. He's got the Manes about him.
Yeah, I like Visser. More central though, Visser. He's not as wide as Mbeumo.
Matt down in the chat, United won't pay the wages that Mbeumo's talking about. He hasn't asked for that either. Mbeumo was all media hype, according to Stephen. Jeff Barlow, players we compete for grew up with Man United being the best in the class, so there's still that vision of them. I feel double the wage budget also helps. The thing is, Vincent, it will take more than a couple of players to fix Man United in several years where Mbeumo could end up wasting his best years. I'm not so sure. United, I think, are gonna do something this year. I hate to say that. Big ass bloke would love 2 Monaco signings.
Here's one for you, Christian. I just seen this. Sorry, mate.
One second. Mika Beereth. Now, I know about him. He was on the books at Arsenal as a youth team player. didn't make it, we could have done with a number 9 last year. Mika Biereth is a player that I think will come back to the Premier League. Definitely big ass bloke wants Mark Gahey as well. Go on, Gaz, what you got to say, mate?
Just here said that Arda Güler, Real Madrid. I mean, that's pushing the pedals out a little bit, but
not being fancied, linked with the Premier League, linked with Arsenal, linked with Liverpool. Güler, maybe a loan deal. Think about like what's happened there before with the likes of Ødegaard left Arsenal as Real Madrid as a young player. He definitely could be an option. Arda Güler in the middle with Tonali and Guimaraes. I mean, Newcastle are not a million miles away. They're 4 or 5 players from an exceptionally good squad.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, they're not far away at all. Gahey and Trafford and a right-sided player, Stephen says. You know, Gahey as well down there from Ray, and Buemo not gone anywhere yet, but I'm only disappointed if he bangs him in against us. Well, look, that could definitely happen as well. JB, we've been through these sagas before. Not disappointed. I was gutted we didn't get Ekitike. Now, there's a player. Now, here's a question for you. If you cashed in on Isak and bought Ekitike for 86 million, you then have the best part of 70 odd million to keep going on the squad. Would that be an option? He ripped it up in Germany last year. Didn't work for him at PSG. He is a proper centre forward, similar stature to Isak. He's quicker along the ground, good with both feet, good in the air. Different ways of thinking. You know,
that's how you got to do it these days. I think this is what
all the profit coming in at 150, 86 spread over probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, 100%. Mate.
That's a proper centre forward. Sorry, guys, carry on.
Sorry, no, you're on a roll there. I'll let you carry on, crack on.
No, that's fine. You know, Ekitike, but we signed Isak instead, swings and roundabouts. Not interested in anyone who is not interested in the long-term project. That, I think, is absolutely important. You don't want mercenaries in your club when you're building. We've seen it with the other clubs, Chelsea's of this world, mercenary players coming in that don't deliver. Newcastle can't afford to do that. Vincent N, I've forgotten Gordon's performances from last year. I believe if you have aspirations to be a top club, you keep your best players. Saying that 80 million is a lot, and if his head's turned. Yeah, look, there's so many. Bit gutted about Mbeumo. List of players I would like: Lucas Chevalier, Giorgio Scavolini from Atalanta, Malik Tillman from PSV, Arda Güler, Real Madrid, Jonathan Bergkamp. Why is no one interested in Jonathan David either? Guys, smash the like button for me, please, whilst the show's going on. Jonathan David, free transfer from Lille, Canadian international, knows where the back of the net is. Surprised no one's looking at him. What's wrong there? I'm not quite sure. He could be a good option. Going to talk about Dusan Vlahovic in as well in a minute. He's been offered to Newcastle. Good team, 100% good team. Not got the squad to complete, but need the kids to shine as well. Gaz 3K, welcome to the show. We need to keep Isak.
Good name.
And he had the chance to sign for us years ago, went to PSG. Ekitike we're talking about here. Still the one that hurts. What a player he's turned out to be so far. He's so young, Ekitike. And this is what I'm talking about. Doing deals, wheeling and dealing. Eddie Howe's done that in his days at Bournemouth. It's okay to wheel and deal as long as you've got a backup. Wheel and deal your way. First time watching the show. Hi, it's me. Love the show. Love the discussion. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. It's not us making the show. All I'm doing is reading out at the moment and giving my opinion to what you guys are commenting about. That is what's making the show. It's absolutely brilliant. Yes, sign G, but no more than 35 million. Jimmy eats movies. So that's 35 million for Jack Grealish. Jonathan David would be nice, but he's on his way to Napoli, I think. Not so sure. I think that could depend on Garnacho, who I think will leave the club. 30 to 35 million max. Annoyingly, we were linked with Desiree Doué before PSG. What a signing he would have been. How many clubs have missed out on Doué? He was offered right across the Premier League, and it didn't happen. Going on to this one, Dusan Vlahovic, Gaz.
Yeah.
So big man for Fiorentina, got a big money move to Juventus. Hasn't really worked. He was linked with everyone in the Premier League. Newcastle have been offered his services. His agent is now touting him around. Also linked with Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. Newcastle fans, what do you think about this one? Go on, Gaz. What's your thoughts on Dusan Vlahovic? Only 25.
Yeah, 35 mil bargain, absolute bargain. Sorry, things just gone off there, Cushion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think to be honest, he's been linked with everywhere, though, hasn't he? He's went with Arsenal, been linked with him. Last season Arsenal were heavily linked with him. But yeah, I think he's another good signing as support for Isak. With Wilson, I just think Wilson has just gone off the ball.
He's gone, mate. He's gone.
Is he officially gone now?
Yeah, he's
Wilson?
gone. Yeah, Wilson's gone.
Well, then he's perfect to get in him. But, you hit the nail on the head with that Jonathan David as well. Why aren't people looking at him? Free transfer, why aren't people looking at him as well? So
yeah.
Who else is there linked with them? Medium there. I can't see the badges there. Sorry, Chris.
There's a few going on here. That Ray's back in. He'd like to see Vlahovic, and Ray wants to see everyone at Newcastle. Ray just wants Newcastle to sign. Just do a Chelsea. JB91, I put money into Ekitike and keep Isak. That's an interesting way of looking at the Ekitike deal. Ekitike is versatile and can play on the right where we need a world-class player. And is that the conversation? As good as Murphy's been and the goal contributions, I'll try and get them up on screen for you in just a moment. Is it that they've got so many very good players, in those other positions, the likes of Gordon, Isak, Bruno, Tonali, that right-hand side just lacks something that's a level above what Murphy's done. Ekitike can play wide right. That is true.
Yeah.
Let me find Murphy for Liverpool for Newcastle while we're talking.
What is stats?
Yeah, I'm going to find him. It's Jacob Murphy, is it not?
Yeah, Jacob Murphy. Yeah.
Jacob Murphy. Right, here we go. I'll get all of
it. He's brilliant this season. Absolutely superb this season.
All of them up. I'll remove all the price tag and whatever else. He's not linked with anyone. Give me 1 second, guys. There we go. Submit. See if he comes up on screen. See if we can make it happen. There we go. Jacob Murphy. Here's one we want to talk about Jacob Murphy for a moment. 41 appearances, 9 goals and 13 assists. Do you know what the biggest problem is here? I don't think he'll repeat it next year. I agree with what Big Ass Man was saying down in the chat and whatever else, but he's also 30 years old. Champions League football, Premier League football, that is a lot on the legs of a 30-year-old. So
prime, he's in his prime, mate. He's in his prime, in my opinion. There's no reason why, if you're scoring that many goals, age doesn't matter, really doesn't matter. These players now can play till they're 34, 35, 36 in them forward lines if they're fit enough. Look at Ronaldo, for God's sake.
40 years old, scored against Germany for the first time yesterday.
Unbelievable, isn't it? So, these boys they're athletes now. They're proper athletes. There's no reason why he can't do it again. But yeah, I still think they need someone else to support him, for sure.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Vlahovic is a monster, would love him, says Big Ass Bloke. Will be expensive, but oh boy, he's a strong guy. I mean, he is that, definitely, but a player that's also lacking confidence. And the one thing I would worry about him, other than him being the monster, is whether or not he can deal with the pace of the Premier League. That would concern me. That would concern me. Stephen Field, don't go to the filth in Callum. Signing strikers is a problem. Any player coming in will have to be playing second fiddle to Isak. Not sure Vlahovic would be happy to be sitting on the bench. Again, I completely agree. When your number 9 is so good, we've seen it with other clubs, Watkins and Duran, as we call him, they had to get rid of one. Clubs now don't like to have 2. But think back in the day, guys, you had Shearer and Les Ferdinand. You made it work. Tino Asprilla, Gillespie down the left and the right. Clubs have done it in the past. And I think now, if you can compete on all fronts, then maybe you can have 2 very good strikers. Yeah. Maybe you can. Yeah. You've got to provide competition for Isak, and you've got to provide a backup for Isak. That's for sure as well. Because if he gets injured, your season can capitulate very quickly, and then you've got a problem. Go on, Gaz.
Here's one for you, Christian. Mark Todd there says it here. The thing is, we're in for Ekitike. Pedro years ago But here's one thing. Let's face it, lads. We're going to end up with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Oh my
Oh,
God,
perfectly
DCL.
timed. I've got him on screen right here, guys. Unfortunately, he has been linked with a free transfer move to Everton. Sorry, to Newcastle. No, it's got to be a simple no. This is a step back, is it not? The
Oh
only
man,
way Dom Calvert-Lewin could be playing for Newcastle is on a 50 quid pay as you play type of deal. If he pulls off a move to Newcastle, honestly, his agent deserves a bloody medal.
he does. He does. He is poor, man. He is so poor. It's just not what they need at all.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he is, Gaz. I'm not saying that he is. But I'm telling you that he is linked. He has been linked the last few days as a free transfer to Newcastle. Now the argument is he got through 26 games last season, right? He did. He got
Yeah.
through them just somehow. We don't know. He's a free transfer. Do you not think, hypothetically, Dominic Calvert-Lewin would be happy to come in and play second fiddle to Isaac? The pressure's off to be fit week in, week out.
Of course he would, yeah. Of course he would. He just take the money, sign an on fee, new fee.
It's not going to be big wages. He's not going to be big wages. He's going to
No.
be it's going to be
But
performance
what's the
based.
point? But what's the point? I mean, there is no performance there. That's what I'm saying. Performance based. Now he needs to go down in class. He's not Premier League player.
He's not
in my
fit enough
opinion.
for the championship either.
No, he probably isn't. He probably isn't. Why doesn't he just go abroad? I think he's probably best going abroad, to be honest, and try and cut it there because he can't cut it in the Premier League. He'd
Yeah.
score goals abroad. He would. He'd score goals abroad, but not in the Premier League.
4 more likes. I need guys to hit 40. Then we might be able to get the bat up to 50 before we finish up. DCL for Wrexham. There we go. You never know. Big Ass Bloke would never get rid of Murphy. He's everything I love about football. Him and Dan Burn. I agree. Seeing the photos of Dan Burn pushing cars around roundabouts outside Tesco's is amazing as well. He's a bygone era footballer that the fans connect with. And they're still so important in football clubs, I believe, and you can't have them all where they're Instagram showboaters as well. They can't all be like that. You need the likes of a Dan Burn and a Murphy to keep some of those players honest as well. The speech Dan Burn did on the eve of the League Cup, in the dressing room of the League Cup final was, put chills down your spine, put hairs on the back of my head that I haven't had for nearly 15 years, but that's what you need in football. And part of that is also the energy that is Newcastle United. It is that type of club where the passion bleeds through from the fans, what have we got here? Murphy is an odd one. I think he will drop off. Also, he doesn't impact from the bench. So if we get an experienced right winger, then we'd have to sell Murphinho. That's the other one. If he was called Murphinho, he'd probably end up staying at the club playing right wing just because he's got Murphinho. If we could do Cordero or run with Cordero or Simla, Jimmy eat smoothies plus the FA Cup and League Cup. Guys, who else do you want to see? Who do you want to see at your club? It's your club, not mine and Gaz's. Let us know. Gaz, I know what you're after. You're after the share screen of the comments, aren't you, my friend? You can't see them. Give me one.
I can see him on my phone. What's to say? The one here is quite funny with Vincent here, and I'd rather sign a 50-year-old Antoine Sibierski than a Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Was it Sibierski or Tamuri Ketspire that kicked the hoarding when he scored that goal?
Oh yeah, Tamuri Ketspire. Yeah, no, he went mad and he started kicking off.
Mental, mate.
It's them Greeks. They go a bit crazy. Well, they throw plates and everything, so they are a bit mental, aren't they?
Yeah, there we go. Hi, it's me. Last 5 games we played, we watched Murphy, not Isak. Vincent, spot on. Back in the day, clubs have had more than one world-class striker. Competition and backups are a must for a squad that are looking for growth. Look at Manchester City. Until this season, they have got. We'll come to Mitrovic, Stephen, in a moment. We'll talk about Mitrovic looking like he's going to come back from the Saudi League. I don't have him on screen. I can get him though, I'm sure. But yeah, clubs do need competition, and I think Isak must not feel untouchable either. I think that's massively important. I think he needs to have competition. Don't you swear at me with DCL, says Jeff Barlow. Nonsense, lads. It's not nonsense. Go and look. DCL has been linked with Newcastle.
I feel sorry for you if you get in.
DCL, no. Just JB91, just a younger Callum Wilson. Dom is a Callum Wilson current condition version 2.0. Yikes. Look, it's, Ray's wanting. Ray, I swear you just want every player. He wants João Pedro, Jonathan David, Dusan Vlahovic, Dom Calvert-Lewin should sign for Newcastle. How do they all fit in? You're never going to keep them all happy. Vincent N, I've been praying Calvert-Lewin is not coming yet. Here you are linked with him. Go to Wrexham. Matt says that's a great shout. As I said, the 50 years. Toon fans, what do you think of Ozula as well? I saw him come on late in the season. Looks to be a good young player as well. Beardsley and Cole, what a combo that was. Peter Beardsley and Ashley and Andy Cole. Andy Cole, what a forward Andy Cole was for Newcastle.
Cole the goal.
Oh, Cole the goal. He was a serious footballer, proper footballer in his day. Newcastle have had some good ones, and can they get back to those times as well? And where else have we got down here? Talk to me about Joel Linton, guys. Do you think you need a backup to him? And if so, who? Because Joel Linton's become your cult hero as well. Remember, he was signed as a centre forward. Was it by Steve Bruce, who now takes credit for signing Joel Linton, 40, 50 million pounds? Do you need a little bit more than what Joel Linton gives? I think he's great. I love that he's in the stadium with the Shearer shirt on and whatever else. But could you possibly need a little bit more, than what Joel Linton does? He's big and strong. Morten Hjormand from Sporting could be a good one. Mitrovic on loan could be handy. Ali McFarlane says coming in from a Saudi club could be very easy to do a deal from there. Neves as well. What about him at Al Hilal? Ruben Neves, who was once at Wolves. That could be a good one. I think you've been linked with him in the past. Definitely not a bad idea. Could you bring in the likes of maybe in January if you need it of a Benzema on loan, just for a few weeks? Ronaldo reports he's leaving. You don't want Ronaldo on the right. He couldn't do it at Manchester United the second time coming back. At 40, he can't do it in the Premier League. Mitrovic looks popular. Let's get this as a quick poll. Do you want Mitrovic? Give me 1 second. I'll get this as a very quick poll and tell me, do you want Mitrovic? Yes or no? Mitrovic. Yes or no? Let me know in the poll. Start this one. We're nearly there, guys. We're nearly there. Ozula looks good. Old-fashioned pest on the pitch. Promising. Promising, I reckon. Thank you very much to the subs that have done it as well, guys. 15 of you have joined the Footy Social Club during this watch along. I greatly appreciate it. We need one more like for 40 likes. Someone hit that like button for me today. Azula's getting plenty of mentions. Jeff Barlow, we definitely need a backup to Big Joe. Malik Tillman can do that from PSV. Well, if we go to Saudi, there's players like Frank Kesse as well. Frank Kesse, formerly of AC Milan. There's plenty of players in the Saudi gas. And should Newcastle maybe using that to their advantage, mate?
Yeah. I mean, you should be looking at players over there for sure. Mitrovic, I don't know about him. I think they need to be. I think them days are gone. To be honest, I think he needs to be looking a bit more in the Premier League. There's plenty around there. It's just whether they're going to actually sign them. To be honest, but stay away from Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Maybe Vlahovic. Vlahovic would be a great signing. I think he'd be, and not huge money either. I think he'd be a great signing.
Alex Ramirez, is this video titled clickbait or new info about new incomings? Not at all. There's no clickbait. If Alex, I don't know how much of the show that you've watched. It's something I do, every day here on the Footy Social Club, talk about transfers. I believe that Gahey will be a deal that you will do. There's strong links about Jack Grealish this morning, João Pedro as well. 3 incomings that Newcastle could be doing. You can read into it as you like. But thank you very much for getting in the comments. Welcome to the Footy Social Club. I would hope that the guys that have been watching this morning would say we've had some proper discussions about so many other players, not just those three as well. Thank you very much to Vincent, who subbed as well. Much appreciated. We'll go to Saudi. Yeah, here we go. What else have we got? Kamal MK, I got your like. Thank you very much. I can see that. Guys, we've jumped from 38 likes, 39 likes. We're up to 47. Can we get to half a century? We're getting there. Jeff Barlow, we've been linked with Gabriel Vega recently. Would be great to unlock defenses, assuming he hasn't lost anything playing in the Saudi. And maybe that's where, as I said, you guys have got to be shopping. You've got to use it to your advantage. I don't think so big as like Gahey is not going to be another Mbeumo. I don't see him going to Liverpool. I don't see him going to United, Chelsea. Don't see him going to Spurs because of Mickey van der Ven. Gaz will tell you more about that one. Gahey's the one I think Newcastle will do. I genuinely believe that.
I do too.
I genuinely believe that. I think Grealish could be one as well. 3 more likes, guys. Can we do it? Right. We'll change the mode here. I want to talk about some outgoings, and I want you guys to punch in your outgoings. We know that we've got one. We've got Wilson out the door and whatever else, and there's a few others. A couple here that you might sell. Longstaff and Willock. Why Joe Willock, guys? Why Joe Willock? I think he's a good squad player. Longstaff linked with Leeds, a fee in the region of 15 million for a homegrown player. There's talks as well the last few days that Newcastle have got to do deals. I said at the start of the show that you've got to get your homegrown players into your 25-man squad. That means Sean Longstaff might have to say, unless you go and sign 4 or 5 free former Newcastle players, Tim Krul, Freddie Woodman as well. Sean Longstaff, his brother, I don't even know if he still plays anymore. I like Sean Longstaff, Gaz. I don't know if he's quite Newcastle quality, but he's a local lad. In the lines of Dan Burn. Do Newcastle need to be careful that they don't, with the potential growth, they don't rip out players that understand the DNA of the club?
Yeah, you can be careful when it's not as easy just getting rid of players. You know, you don't realize the relationships they build up with each other and, you know, behind the scenes. It all sounds good to go, oh, yeah, he's not quite good enough. We just move him on. He's not quite good enough. We'll move him on. But sometimes the structure it keeps things together. And for the sake of, you know, not making that much money out of them, you know, you're better off keeping them around, because what he might give other players in confidence, you can't beat that. That dressing room stuff is really important. Giving you a classic example with like Ben Davies at Tottenham. Ben Davies is surplus requirements at Tottenham, but we still keep him around because he links the team really well. He's 34 years of age. He's been there, done it. And I think these players that, you know, local boys, I don't know, Sean Longstaff, 27 years old. He's not young. He's been around for a long, long time, and he'd have built a big sort of network of people in that club.
Yeah, absolutely. 63%, guys, in the poll would bring Mitrovic back to Newcastle.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Big interesting that down into the chat. Of course, Ray says Newcastle should sign Mitrovic. Of course he does. Yeah, don't worry about it, Gahey. Willock, Jeff says Willock hasn't hit the heights he's been at since when he joined. Injuries have hurt him. I think it's the reason Arsenal got rid of him, to be honest, as well. I think he needs a run in the team, which he isn't going to get at Newcastle. Maybe not, but I think with Willock, I think you'd find he'd be willing to stay and be a squad player. He's going to get FA Cup. He's going to get games in the Premier League, especially with the Champions League. You know, Joe Willock is going to get those games. Let me, you know, I think Willock's a good. I think he'd be dangerous. But I'll get the stats up here. Ignore the fee. Hang on one sec.
Christian, I'm just going to read my mate's thing. He's messaged me from around the pool. I think he's actually in the chat there. He was looking about players, obviously, to get rid of. In one of his ones was, he said Wilson, you know, Longstaff, Willock, Hayden, Lewis, Target, Ruddy, Gillespie.
Plenty.
plenty going like that, and obviously loaning out Alex Murphy, Ashby, White, and then he's put like hello Trafford, Gahey, and Mbeumo as obviously a bit outrageous. He said Calvert-Lewin as well, which is crazy.
He needs
So
to
it'd be
lay off the
interesting to see.
sangrias around the pool.
So yeah, he needs to lay off the sangrias around the pool. So what do you think of them goodbyes, guys? Wilson, Longstaff, Willock, Hayden, Lewis, Target, Lascelles, Ruddy, Gillespie. Seems a lot.
Lot of free, a lot of players that are around the fringes there. Vincent says Sean gets a lot of flack, but I'd keep him for the homegrown quota. As for Willock, his energy makes good runs, but he's useless in the final third. I'd sell Willock and get Jacob Ramsey. That's a good one, Gaz. Jacob Ramsey, Aston Villa are rumoured to have to sell to balance the books. I read something like they've got 95% in terms of their wages and transfer fees to turnover. They're not in serious trouble, but they've got to cut the wage bill and the
that's why they did that
transfers.
thing with Everton. Remember,
Yeah,
they did that thing with Everton, and Everton were very similar. They had to, they sold, and it was bang out of order how they do this. By the way, I think it's disgusting if you look back at it. One of their players, I think it was Arunga Boom or whatever his name is, he switched, and then they had the Everton player, and they both made money on it, which allowed them to, for the deal to happen and unlock that sort of 300% homegrown players. Didn't like the look of that, but managed to get away with it.
Wilson can't stay fit. I like him, but I'm not sure I will miss him. Longstaff, well, Newcastle United just got too good for him, in my opinion. He's a good player, but maybe a mid-table team would suit him better. With Longstaff, he's linked with Leeds. Like Pope, there could be maybe a double deal there. I think he'd improve Leeds. I think he's a good player still to keep around the club. I think at 15 million, it doesn't really hurt Newcastle either way. Do you think he's worth 15 million? Do you think he's worth more? Do you snap just snap Leeds' hands off for 50 million? Guys, I need one more like for 50 likes on this show. Who's going to do it? Don't just sit there and
wait. I said who's going to do it, Christian? Haroon is going to do it. Haroon Rafiq. He said, I'd get Calvin on a free all day. He's a perfect cup starter. Wow. Calvert-Lewin.
There's the 50. Thank you very much. Willock will bring in a higher fee, but Longstaff hits the quota. Kamal MK, thank you very much. Lee McFarlane, we probably have outlined personal terms with Gahey last window. I completely agree with that as well. Palace gave you the runaround with that, but I would say that Eddie Howe's probably kept in contact with Gahey, so probably already the potential to do it. I really do believe you will do the Gahey deal. I really do believe that. JB91, let's get some of the 3 million keepers off the books. It's a toss-up between Newcastle. Thank you for the further likes. It's a toss-up between Newcastle and Chelsea for who's got more for more keepers. Haroon Rafiq, you've talked about that bunch of clowns. Whoever wants Mitro back, trying to progress, not go backwards. His attitude alone is an issue. Will clash with Howe for sure. Big statement there, guys. Sean isn't good enough, says Jeff. Moore, unfortunately, loves misplacing a 5-yard pass. Not sure on our financial position we can afford to keep these players on decent wages when they don't impact on the pitch. It's so important as well that finding the right balance between, a player that you may have to keep for a quota, the player's wages, and whether or not by holding on to him, he becomes another, a year older, whether or not he becomes a 5 million player because he doesn't play next year. No money grabbing priest, says Jimmy Eats Movies. Now Willock's had a bit of an attitude this season. Let him go. Is he an attitude because he's a Cockney? Is that his attitude as well? Is it because he's not from the north? We know there's the north-south divide, or do we not have an issue with that? Let us know in the chat. We'll push to get them out, but if someone wants to pay 20 million, no problem. Keep Willock and Longstaff for the cup games, says Stephen Field. That I agree with. Mitrovic says, Jim Keogh, who's a United fan, welcome to Jim in watching the Newcastle United show today. Mitrovic would be a great second striker option. So many have said that. 67% of you say that as well. I keep Lascelles for another year. Wouldn't be against it for the cup games. Lascelles, am I right or wrong? Is he not the club captain for Newcastle? I think that he is. Is Lascelles going to be happy to be a bit part player? Join us next Thursday for the keep, bench, sell. We can discuss and see where Lascelles fits. Do you agree with what me and Gaz are going to do there? Big ass bloke. It's the problem is not the players or their levels. It's the stupid contracts Mike Ashley did. We get nothing for the money. I agree. Gaz, what else do you see down there?
Yeah, just looking at just responding to some of the boys that saying they're loving the show. Vincent there, and a lot of it just all saying, Haroon Rafiki was our 50th thumbs up, by the way. So thanks for that one, Haroon. And it all helps the channel, right, Chris?
100%. Absolutely love today's show. It's been pumping here, mate. Mitrovic flying into Saudi first for the country. Look, Mitrovic, I think he'd be good. We need Lee McFarlane. We need to build our squad so that we need to keep some of the fringe players. I think that's a good point as well. You can't cash in on everyone. It's about balancing. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate the 50th as well. Thank you, Harouk. Nice one. Likes and subscribe. Appreciated. Vincent, first time I've come across your channel, but it's been great so far. Looking forward to to more from both in the future. There's 4 of us involved. We do a prediction show as well. That we started about a year ago. Gets about 20,000 likes in a week. Make sure you check that one out. We'll be predicting where clubs are going to finish in the Premier League, as well as weekly predictions as well. There's so much we do on the Footy Social Club. Thank you very much. Bruno as captain. Here you go, guys. One question and one question only. If you were to sell one of your stars, just give me the one-word answer. Your stars are Gordon, Isak, Bruno, and Tonali. You've got to sell one. Just give me the surname of which one you're selling. Or run that for the next couple of minutes. Just punch it into the chat. Which one are you selling? Appreciated, Lee. Some great crack here. I really, really appreciate that. Bruno's now captain. I thought Bruno was. I was thinking that it was also.
I'm shocked, Chris. I'm shocked.
Here we go. Let it keep coming.
I am stunned.
We're going to talk about it. That's why I want to know. One word. Who's coming in? Tell me. Nobody around my household wants to talk football. It's fantastic. I found you guys. I love the show. Big ass bloke. We will talk football till the cows, come off. So our watch alongs on a Saturday. We do all the 3 p.m. games. I know there's a blackout in the UK, but we cover them all. So we talk like Soccer Saturday, but it's fan engagement. We talk about what you guys want to talk about, as well as reacting to all of the big games. We don't just want you to, we want you to come in and talk about your team, but we wanted to talk about football in general. And some of the players you guys have dropped in this show, I'm going off to have a read about them as well. I thought I was pretty good with football. There's some here that I need to go and further read up on as well. Let's go here. Lacazelle's great servant, but injuries and falling down the pecking order means we should sell. Agree. Could there be a coaching role for Lacazelle's as well? Bad attitude with Willock means he's stroppy and his head drops when things don't go his way. I agree with that. Arsenal had that as an issue. That's why we got rid of him with the likes of Iwobi. Right, here we go. Vincent says Gordon.
Can you believe this?
1 second. Jeff Barlow, Gordon. Stephen Phil, Gordon. Ian CR65, there is no north-south divide for Newcastle United fans. There's a myth created by the national media. I agree. And isn't that the great thing about YouTube? We're not national. We'll never be national, but we'll be about the fans. Lee McFarlane, yes. Gordon can only be, Gordon, sell Gordon. Jesus Christ.
Phenomenal. I never thought it'd been him.
We
I was expecting, I was expecting, Christian. I was expecting a bit of a mixed bag there. And when they said Gordon, look, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 9, at least 9 or 10 Gordons there. So I am absolutely stunned. Are you?
Mate, I didn't think Gordon. Do you know if I thought one, I thought Tonali.
Yeah, maybe. Should I tell you why I maybe is Gordon? And you tell me if I'm wrong in the chat. Is it because he's a Scouser and he said he wanted to go back to Liverpool, and he did say he wanted to go back to Liverpool? He'd signed for Liverpool in a heartbeat. Is that the reason, or is it that he is a little bit surplus compared to requirements compared to some of the other ones, or do you think that highly of the other ones? Hence, that's why it's Gordon. But wow, I just I wasn't expecting that.
It's massive. Lacazelle's can't sell Lacazelle's. His contract is up
due to the Liverpool links.
Yeah, get kudos and thank me later. Haroon, I agree. I'm a huge losing my voice kudos fan. Absolutely, I think that Kudus could be banging for Newcastle, but he's got to be on it every game. I think that Newcastle fans would demand that, and they're right to demand that if you're going to pay big money for him. Not a myth about the Newcastle versus Sunderland divide. Are you looking forward, Newcastle fans, to Sunderland being back in the Premier League next season? I know you're going to say it's 6 points. I mean it more as a rivalry. There's great rivalries in the Premier League. You know, Liverpool, Everton, Arsenal, Tottenham, the City, City United, Spurs, Chelsea, West Ham, you name it, there's plenty. Are you excited to have Sunderland back in the Premier League next year? I think they'll go straight back down. But surely, is there season ticket holders in this that, that are looking forward to an away day against the Mackhams? Shane Middlesbrough couldn't get back as well, the Smoggies, as they're known. Vincent, I'd not sell Isaac or Tonali or my captain Bruno for love nor money. I love the passion. I love the passion. Bruno's, again, another great one. Maybe recent bias. Gordon hasn't played much, JB91 says. Don't ever sell Tonali. He's insanely good. He is insanely good, but I think one day Serie A comes calling and he'll go again. And I think that's the problem for Newcastle. Whether the Italian clubs would have the money is another question. But I think Tonali could be one that goes in the future. I really do believe that. Bruno, no, I think Bruno could stay forever unless maybe the likes of Real Madrid came knocking or a Barcelona. But other than that, I don't see him ever moving to another Premier League club, even Man City, who have had links to him in the past. Haroon likes Harvey Barnes. I think he's a better number 2. Not saying I want rid of Gordon, says Lee McFarlane, but out of your list, he's the only one. Poor lad will be gutted if he reads the barrage against him. If anyone knows Anthony Gordon, let's get him in the chat. Tonali is our player of the season, says Stephen Field. Tonali's a weapon of a player as well. Weapon of a player. Great finish against Chelsea at the end of the season, and how important that was in the end. No, Tonali is the head. Bruno is the heart. Isaac is the purpose. I absolutely love that as well. Gordon is too confused at the moment. Interesting, really interesting. I thought it would be more of a mixed bag, but no. I'm glad. I'll be glad to see the back of Borough next year would be good too, says Lee. It's all about the rivalries. That's what football is. We've got the fixtures coming out. Is it, Gaz, the 18th of June? Is it?
Yeah, we're doing that 18th of June. Yeah,
18th of June. For the morning 5 minutes after the fixtures come out, you'll be looking for Sunderland and Newcastle fans. I get it. Live podcast reacting to opening weekend, the big fixtures. We want you on. The phone lines will be open for that one as well. Gordon has covering Barnes, had a poor second half of the season. That's a big thing about Gordon. Does he blow a little bit too hot and cold? Maybe. And 80 million. Is that good money? We talked earlier about maybe a Grealish coming in on loan for a season. Could that work? The Mitrovic one, it's dropped down, Gaz, 55 to 45. Vincent says, I hate the Mackhams, but they always get a result against us. I'm not sure. Excited is the word. Look, I don't think you'll have any problems against the Mackhams. There's such a golfing class between the Championship sides and the Premier League sides now. I think it's 6 points easy for Newcastle. How he's reading this, Lee. Says, Gaz, I want to keep Gordon, but he's easiest to replace as it stands. And Anne the Toon Army, welcome along, Anne. Sell none of the 3. There we go. Stephen Field will stay up all night waiting for the fixtures. You and me both, buddy. And Stephen, as always, I appreciate you getting in the chat like so many of you today as well. It's been one hell of a show. What have we been on? Nearly 2 hours.
I know.
Set your diaries. 11 a.m. next Thursday, the Sell, Bench, Keep podcast on Newcastle. Tomorrow, we've got transfer news across the Premier League. Latest ones coming in. I've got it on Arsenal as well. So we're focusing on the big clubs. We're going to do keep, sell, and swap or bench for Arsenal tomorrow. Even if you're not an Arsenal fan, come in and check that out. It'll give you an idea for the Newcastle one as well. Guys, thank you so much for making this an incredible show this morning on the Footy Social Club. Gaz and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Keep coming back. Smash the like button. If you haven't already, go and be generous. Go on, hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much. Great show, guys. Hi, it's me. Love the chat. Thanks for getting in there. I'll support you guys. Thank you very much, Vincent. I appreciate it. I must get myself a Newcastle United jersey, I think, for the future, Gaz. I must get on and order one. There we go. Thanks to Stephen Field. Cheers, lads. Thanks to Big Ass Bloke. Thanks for a great show. Being great will drop in again. Make sure you do. Thanks to Jeff. Good show, lads. Keep it coming. I really, really appreciate it. Gaz, I need some water. My voice has gone.
I know, yeah.
It's done. Get yourself a Dan Burn shirt. Hey, let's start a GoFundMe for a Dan Burn shirt. You get me a Dan Burn shirt in an extra large, I'll wear the Dan Burn shirt on the podcast. No problem at all.
Extra large.
I'm a single extra large, mate, me, so don't worry about that. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Whatever you do, keep safe. And me and Gaz will see you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.